I always thought that life would get easier when I got a girlfriend. Being single is tough, right? You feel lonely, you feel like no one wants you, and you have no one to come home to, no one to enjoy a nice meal with, no one to share intimate experiences with. But now that I have a girlfriend, I kind of forgot of the nice things about being single. And don't get me wrong, I love my girlfriend, and being in a relationship is one of the most fulfilling parts of my life. But let's be honest, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In this video, I want to explore why having a girlfriend can be harder than being single, what I've learned about relationships so far, and how the challenges of being in a relationship can actually help you grow a lot as a person. So I want to start up with why I think being single is actually easier. The thing is, you have total freedom. You have no one to check in with. You can live selfishly, focus entirely on yourself and your goals. In my mid-20s, that was really key for me because I was building up a lot of my skills, which I'm making money of today, which has also brought me to the career I have today. I didn't get my girlfriend till after I had my quote-unquote dream chemistry job at a tech startup. I was just about to start making money with photography. I actually didn't do it. I actually hadn't made that much when I met her, but it was just a month later that I started to make $500 a month from photography. And I was in the process of building a great body. I didn't have it when I met her. I was much bigger than I am now, quite muscular, but it was also carrying a lot of fat, so I'm much more lean and athletic today, which is much more attractive to girls in general. I wasn't perfect, and I was nowhere near my peak level, which I am still not today at all. It's gonna take years before I get to that point. But the point is, I had been sacrificing a lot of time to be selfish in my mid-20s, and that really paid off when I then met my current girlfriend, because she could really see the work I'd put in and the attractive qualities that I built for myself. The thing is, you also have way less responsibility when you're single. You never really need to prioritize someone else's feelings or needs. And I'll have situations with my girlfriend where I get too much into my work and I forget to text her sometimes and have frequent contact with her, which of course can make her a bit sad sometimes, and I didn't have to think about that and spend my brain power on that when I was single. And that is again really key if you're building something. That can really help you out on that path. And decisions are also simpler and faster to make because they only affect you. You don't have responsibility for other people. If you fall and you spend $10,000, you waste $10,000, well, it's just your money. And another thing is you also have more time for your hobbies and friends. I was playing way more guitar back then, and it's also easier to coordinate more time with your friends since you're not constantly seeing your girlfriend. But the kicker here is really that you have two ways of spending your time when you're single. You can be very comfortable, play a lot of video games, which I of course did back during the Corona lockdown. I played a lot with my friends every single night. But there's also the other side of the coin, which is that I still spend a lot of time on my self-growth. And I also dated quite a bit when I was single. I didn't do that in my early 20s because I was just not very good at dating. I felt very overwhelmed, so I kind of pushed it away. But I think having some experiences with dating when you're single is definitely helpful when you then meet the person that you might want to share your life with. So I was using my time when I was single to get much better at dating and learn about what I really wanted in a partner, what I didn't want in a partner, and also to build something on the side, something that could make me money long term and something that made me feel fulfilled. But then I met the girl that I'm with right now. And before, I've always had the notion of that relationships were easier, that when you got into a relationship, a lot of people, they just kind of settle. They fall off the fitness wagon and they chill out on the couch during the evenings and just eat a lot of candy. And maybe that's the case if you find a woman that you don't want to grow with. But in my case, I was looking for a girlfriend that was really into self-development and becoming a better person and becoming the best version of themselves, which is what I'm trying to do. So we're constantly working on ourselves, and that also means that we're constantly working on the relationships. And this is my first proper relationship, which I got into at age 28. I've had shorter relationships that spanned 3 to 6 months with multiple girls, but this is kind of different. This is a really committed monogamous relationship, which means that I can't just run away when we start arguing, which I would sometimes do with some of the other relationships. I really have to tackle those and figure out, why does this specific thing in the relationship bother me? That has really opened up things from my childhood even, and things that I've been learning when I was growing up, or things that I thought was helpful to me back then but are not anymore. Different beliefs and thoughts I've had to come to terms with. Maybe this is not serving me anymore. Maybe I have to do something about this pattern I have of maybe becoming very triggered over this one thing. How can I release this trigger and not be so triggered about it when my partner might do this in the future? And then you get to a point where you realize that compromise is actually the name of the game. I really stayed single for a long time because I didn't want to compromise, but you have to in a relationship There's things that you're not gonna agree on. There's things where you have to come to a compromise because you have to balance two lives instead of just your own. It can be something so simple as to how to spend your weekend. You can't just say that, listen, we're gonna do all these things. At least not with my girlfriend. She likes to have some kind of say in it. So you suddenly have to not only think for yourself, but also for the other person. And it can feel like you're giving up a part of your independence sometimes, but I think that's also where the magic of a partnership begins. She has just taught me so much about myself, and I've seen her grow from being with me, and I think it's wonderful that you can kind of mentor another human being like that and also be mentored and learn a lot of things from that person. It might be behavioral patterns that I notice and that she's noticed about me that we change over time to become the best version that we can of ourselves. But of course, this only happens if you're willing to be emotionally vulnerable. It's a lot easier to avoid your emotions when you're single. I did that a lot. As I previously mentioned, if I got into some kind of argument with a girl, then honestly, I didn't want to stay. I would just think that, at this point, I know how to get girls. I can just date another girl tomorrow if I want to. I can go on a dating app, or I can just message one of the other 4 girls that I'm in contact with currently. I was dating a lot of girls a couple of years ago, so I had a lot of abundance in terms of that. That also meant that I was quite avoidant. I didn't really commit very much to the girls that I was seeing, which is a huge trap as well. Even if you're not looking for a relationship, you never really expose your real fears, insecurity, and flaws if you're just dating cold-heartedly like I was back then and being single. Because there is some deeper level stuff that you won't get to by being on the surface and just going on a couple dates, having a couple of talks, which I back then thought was deep on some of these dates. But this goes way beyond that in my current relationships. It's quite scary, but it's also what makes a relationship deep and meaningful. Communication is hard work. I've had many misunderstandings with my girlfriend. Actually, recently during Christmas, we had a huge misunderstanding because her family has always been very bound to traditions. So they've really been loving the big Christmas celebrations and putting a lot of effort into buying and creating meaningful gifts to each other, while I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. My family, we often buy our own gifts because then we know that we're getting the right thing. And I honestly don't care that much about these kind of traditions. So I think she was expecting me to do something nice for her during Christmas, because she did something very nice with her gifts for me. But I actually really didn't. It was quite low effort, to be honest. And I realized looking back that she had communicated that it really means a lot to her with personal gifts and not just like me buying a bunch of random gifts because it's on her wish list. So she actually got a bit sad about that, and things like that, it happens. Miscommunicating and not picking up on certain signals. And these things, we talk about that, we reflect over it, me and my partner, about how we can do this better the next time. And that forces me to face my flaws and my areas that I'm not aware of. So being in a relationship means that someone is always holding up a mirror to my behavior, which are things that friends might not tell you. While when you're single, you can easily hide things under the rock, avoid your bad habits, but in a relationship, you can't run away from them. They're gonna come out eventually. And overall, I would say it's very, very well worth it, especially because most people, they want to build a family one day. So while it's fun being single and dating around and having no responsibility and being able to have this added time to build something, I think most people should at least take out some time in their life where they are just single, they're not even trying to actively date, but just build something on the side, because it can really propel you forward in life. But then when you get to a stage where you feel you're ready for a girlfriend or you want to have a girlfriend, it's definitely very well worth it. Despite all the challenges, you get deep connection with somebody who truly knows you. You have a support system that if something happens, you can share it with your partner, your highs and lows. And you have a person that can grow with you and challenge you to become a better version of yourself. My girlfriend has encouraged me to try a lot of new things, and she's been supportive through tough moments, and is also willing to call me out when I really need it, even though I don't want to hear it sometimes. So while having a girlfriend may be harder than being single, the rewards of building a meaningful relationships, it far outweigh the challenges. And I've really come to a conclusion of some of the lessons I've learned about relationships, and I want to share them really quickly. The first one is that it's about teamwork. It's not me versus her, it's both of us versus the problem that arises. I always want to keep that in the back of my mind when I sometimes get a bit mad at her and she gets mad at me, that we're in this together and we have this common problem that we need to solve. And communication really is everything. As cliche as it sounds, you really need to learn to express your needs while being open to hers. And the third thing is that growth comes from discomfort. I figured this out very early on during the times I was single and I was not feeling attractive, and I was not feeling like the best version of myself. I constantly pushed myself out of my comfort zone every single day. And I realized back then how much I could grow from discomfort. And that's the same thing when you're in a committed relationship. You need to embrace the hard conversations. You need to use challenges as opportunities to strengthen the relationship. It literally forces you to evolve like you would from a mudkip to a swampert. So all in all, while I think having a girlfriend is harder than being single, that's exactly what makes it so meaningful. You put in the effort. Relationships challenge us in ways that we never really expect, and it's gonna reward us in ways we really can't imagine, especially if you give it time. So if you're struggling in your relationship or wondering if it's worth it, I hope this video gave you some perspective. Let me know in the comments what your biggest relationship challenge has been, or if you're single, or what you love most about being single. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. I really appreciate you guys watching and tuning in.